What have you been reading?
Just random books, random everything. My book collection has tripled over the last year.
You did show me a video, a picture on Snapchat a while back that you were reading like a Freddy Fazbear's book or something.
Five Nights at Freddy's, the book series, which you would think, oh, that's childish, you know. Those I don't think are meant for children.
I don't think, from what I've heard from people, because I haven't played the games or I haven't read anything. I haven't done anything, but just from what I've witnessed, there's dead kids and there's murderers and
literally the plot points.
Really,
yeah,
horrible.
So it is.
I don't think it's for kids. If anything, maybe teen,
younger,
preteen, maybe
adults.
Teenager. Yeah, young adult.
So those, funny enough, they are.
Are they good?
They're they're a decent little read.
I've been reading a lot too. I've actually been wanting to get a Kindle.
I have one of the lower versions of a... No, I do. Yeah, I do have one.
Really?
Yeah, I've had it for a few years. I've read on it not too long ago. I forgot the password to get into it, so I had to go back through and reset the whole password. That was a hassle.
So since Isabella's been born, Isabella is my little girl. She showed up January 3rd. Picture right here. Boop. So funny enough, the thing that I've had time for is actually reading. So whenever I'm putting her to sleep or I'm walking around the house, just kind of holding her, it's much easier to just kind of have like my phone up or a book up or something. So I thought about getting a Kindle.
Yeah.
And I've actually been reading on my phone since then instead of an actual device. Because sometimes having a book is I know. So just having my phone up, and I've been reading same thing, short stories, which have been really cool. And I recently, I'm maybe 3/4 the way done with it. I've been reading Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
That
is one that I was forced to read in high school.
That's a high school book. Everybody knows that one.
Or middle school, whatever age range it was.
Or maybe it was most. Yeah, it was school. I remember having to read it in school.
And it was a book that on its own, you're reading now as an adult, may be different. But when you're forced to read it, you grow to hate it.
Mm-hmm. Fair point.
So I hope that's not the case.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of those books too where I didn't like them whenever I was younger, because same thing, I had to read the books. But I think now, where it's I want to read more, why don't I read some of the ones that I had to read before? And it's actually really interesting because there's supposed to be lessons and stories. There's supposed to be a reason why you read them whenever you're in high school, right? But then you read them as an adult and you're oh, I see now. I see, before I didn't see it because I'm just reading it. But now I'm really trying to get into the message of it. It's whoa, that's
I think
pretty
before
intense.
they shove it in your face and kind of take away from what you're actually supposed to be learning from it, if anything,
Mm-hmm.
So as reading it as an adult, I think would be a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely completely different. Because I guess you just like you said, it's just different whenever somebody hands you it and says you need to read this book.
Yeah.
Versus I'm going out of my own free will and saying I want to read this book.
Yeah, and see, that's another thing for me here recently when I've gotten more into reading. I'm very picky of the book itself. Anything, and a lot of times they're oh, just read the first chapter or see how you feel about it. For me, I judge that book by its cover all day long. So
right, because you can't sit there for 10, 20 minutes reading the first couple chapters.
The first chapter is the first chapter is 30 pages long. Come on. So
I'm not a fast reader.
Long chapters, I don't care for.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's hefty, I try to stay away from because of just timing. I don't think that my attention can hold it that long. It'd take me forever to read it. But if the cover of it looks good, it's got because they do that on purpose, it looks good. I'm that seems fun. Or if I read that little back cover, it's a murder mystery, blah blah blah, and they kind of describe it a little bit. I'm like, all right, that sounds cool. So it can be any random book, not even a popular one, and I'm like, you know what, that looks interesting, that looks fun.
I do have a note on that. So one really big reason why I actually switched to a Kindle too, or like to the Kindle app versus a regular book. Yes, because it's kind of annoying doing that. I mean, I personally prefer like regular books. They're really nice. But what the Kindle does, because I have the same thing where like I feel like I can't really like get into a book if it's really big, because it's like, oh my god, this book is so massive. But what's really cool is that once you read enough short stories or books or whatever on the Kindle, it knows how fast you read.
Yeah.
So before the book begins, it'll tell you like, oh, you'll probably finish this book in like 4 hours. So as you're reading it, it'll tell you at the bottom like, oh, you only got like 3 hours left. Oh, you only got like two and a half hours left. So in my head, I'm just going like, oh, I can just read like 30 more minutes, and then I got like 2 hours left.
Yeah.
And then I read another 30 minutes, and I'm like, oh, it's only 2 hours. I was like, 2 hours is not bad. That's how much time I spend like on my phone, right? So I can spend another 20 minutes, and it's like, oh, well, I only got like, it's almost like an hour and 30 minutes. I can just finish it.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. Now, like I'm reading the book.
I think for me, personally, I think that finishing a book, always something about it. You're like,
Nice.
I finished that book.
And it feels, you get those like, you get that little dopamine rush quicker for like short stories, right?
Yeah.
Little short ones, you're like, nice.
Book, I finished that story, you know, so that's always fun. The text, this may be the old person in me coming out, but that text is single spaced and small. No matter how good the cover looks, no matter how interesting it sounds, if it's single spaced and small, I gotta put it back. On my days off, sometimes I like to read, but I don't like to read just by myself. So I'll go out to, you know, some little place where you can sit and read. So then I have people around me, but I'm also reading at the same time. So then I'm out in the world, but I'm not, you know. So it's interesting. I feel like I can read more in a outside setting.
In a little zone.
Yeah, just doing my thing.
That's interesting.
Take a little break, kind of look around, you know, go back into it.
Maybe it's just because I have a lot of stuff going on in my life, but I really like just sitting in dead silence, just reading, like nothing's happening, nothing's playing.
Just going into it.
I'm just sitting here like
I have 3 hours left.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm also that kind of person though, where like I like having time where I can just like sit and do nothing, because in, you know, today's world there's so much stimulation from everywhere.
Yeah, so it's good to do that. Reading, I think, is important. It's what a lot of people, a lot of kids these days. No, they're I mean, me too. I'll be on the phone, but like you said, 2 hours in a book, but 2 hours, you know, watching videos. It's like, come on, you know. So
yeah,
it's like my phone's going off right now, so it's like I go look at it. But no,
I mean, it's easy to be on like YouTube or something for an hour, and then you know, and then,
by accident, you don't plan to it. Like I wanted to look up one music video, and now I'm down the rabbit hole and conspiracy theories. Here we go.
Exactly.
Been there.
See, and then I go to my book, and it's like, oh, well, you only have an hour left. Like it'll be done. Like the book will be done. You'll get the gratification in an hour.
With the book, you're not getting distracted. The book is when you flip to page 3, you're not seeing a video of, oh, that looks interesting, and clicking on it. You know,
you're investing yourself into
you're in that book. So, but I've been doing a lot of reading lately, so that's always been fun.